What's up, everyone? I have another interview today. This time it's with one of my favorite YouTube channels, the Cart Narcs. With that being said, I've been pretty stoked about this one. It happened really quickly, so naturally, and it's here. So, Cart Narcs is one of my favorite YouTube channels. Found them through Infrabrand, which is another YouTube channel, as well as through Mr. Technical Difficult. Gideon, another YouTuber, along with Mr. Technical Difficult. Gideon has actually done a reaction, and that's kind of what I'm going to do here before we jump into that interview and get with Agent Sebastian of the Cart Narcs. So with that being said, let's do a couple reactions and let you guys see what they're all about and go from there. So Cart Narcs, again, they are an organization where they go and they like to go ahead and help people return their carts back, but they have a message with it. Without further ado, here's my first video I want to showcase to you guys.
Darn ridiculous. Where the cart return is here. All she did was go around the edge there, but she split the spot instead. It's literally right here.
I tell you, some of the stuff that people gotta say.
The cart return is right there. No, I mean,
just wait till you hear what this lady has to say.
Goodness gracious, let's go with Lazy Bones on board magnet. Good God, it's just that's just Reed. Oh, there's a cart return guy.
It's right there. It's literally right there.
Right there. So close.
And now the cart return guy has to get it.
What is this?
Oh, that's a cart in the middle of a spot.
That's your thing.
Oh, I'm Cart Narcs. What we do? You got saved by the guy here, so.
Well, I am actually not feeling well. I have really bad vertigo, and if I fall, that'll be your liability.
So if you fall walking the extra 6 feet?
Yeah, I can.
So if your vertigo's that bad, how are you safe to drive?
I'm okay. I'm fine with sitting.
Okay.
I can't walk.
It's such a lazy bones thing to say.
How'd you walk into the store then?
With a cart. I found the cart here. I pulled it up. I walked to the store.
And then at any point you could just fall over?
No, not at any point when I'm walking without the cart.
What if there weren't a cart there for you?
Yeah, well, that's why I parked it right here so I don't fall.
Are you going to walk back into your house with the cart?
No, but I'll be fine. But I mean,
is there a force?
What are you? Are you police?
Cart Narcs. Is there a force field around your house of protectivity?
Oh my goodness!
Waiting for me. I don't need to explain myself to you.
Yeah, you do actually. That's my job. Now your kid
I have vertigo.
That way you have to get home.
I can't walk without the cart. Vertigo.
Well, no, I'm just having a conversation.
No, you are not. You're harassing.
Do you know what that word means legally?
You are. You're not letting me leave.
I am letting you leave. I haven't stopped you one time.
You put something on my car. What was that?
A magnet that said I'm a lady. That says Lazy Bones on board.
There's people who park their cars all over the place, and people leave.
So there are 3 wrongs.
It's not the end of the world.
Exactly. That's the point. That's why. And why are you arguing so much if it's not the end of the world? Exactly. All the classic symptoms there, narketeers. First off, the medical condition, which apparently just kicks in and kicks out whenever she needs or doesn't need a cart. Oh, yeah. And for folks who don't know, Calabasas is a suburb here in LA County where very, very rich people live. You may know them from...
she must have felt really entitled, I tell you.
How you doing? The most famous... Very well, thank you. Good job, thank you. The most famous residents. Please return shopping carts here. The whole vertigo
people
angle.
Think
that's a new one. That's specific.
People that go and get the carts are going to be the ones to go and get those. Like, no, their cart returns so those folks can have an easier time doing their job.
We've explained hundreds of times. And she even mentioned in her follow-up there, the employees aren't always right there. Sometimes it's going to be a half hour, an hour, and that's perfectly reasonable.
It happens. I get it. People leave carts all over the place, but her excuse was
I just so happened to find a cart. And my vertigo goes away when I get home with my groceries somehow. That's the thing with Lazy Bones. I think a lot of parents kind of enjoy the Cart Narcs for that reason, is the slightest questioning of their reasoning and logic and excuses watches them fall apart in front of you, as it did with that lady. I said, well, if this is true, then how did you do that? And she didn't have any kind of cogent response for that, narketeer. So, sadly, all too common, and shows you that poor or rich, when it comes to leaving your cart out, everyone could be a Cart Narcs out.
So, I mean, really, all in all, it's so crazy to me that people go into the store, they'll go and grab a car. They'll walk around the store, and then they tend to forget where everything comes from. Like, just go return your cart back to the cart stop, man. That's it. Just a couple extra steps. So what? You're going to lose a couple seconds. You're not losing minutes. You'll make those seconds up. I'm sure most people speed on the road, which you should not be doing. But it's just so crazy to me that people think it's just okay to go ahead and just leave your cart. And I've witnessed it. I've sent messages to Cart Narcs showing them, like, look at these lazy bones right here. Like, people just couple steps away from the cart return. You'll hear more from Agent Sebastian with the interview, and he'll tell you all about it. He'll give you examples, and they're valid examples. So, it is what it is. Not really, but can't stop them all. I do have another one here for you guys where he gets into a little bit of a discussion with a gentleman about it. And the gentleman becomes violent. It's just so crazy, but I hope you guys enjoy.
On this gentleman. Not seeing positive signs. Leaving the cart there actually makes it harder for him to open his own door. And he's still doing it. Line him up.
We're in a society with people being lazy and not taking responsibility for their actions.
Sir,
the mouse signal.
How cart goes. Take it back to the cart trail area. Carts don't go right there. They go back where the cart returns are. There's one over there. See where that guy just came from? Or over there where I just came from over there? I just came from one. I'll show you where it is. I'm with Cart Narcs. And you're even blocking your own door from opening. You'd think you'd understand how that could block someone else's door from opening, right?
If you're handicapped and you can walk a store with
we're
your grocery cart,
that's not
you can
our
return.
card, by the way. That's an ambulance. We're a highly trained organization.
There's just no excuse.
Narcs.
Because all those people that have to go get the carts, they have to spend more time going out and picking it up. We have cart returns.
Not narcotics, but essentially, yeah. So what we do, we show people the error of their ways, and like that gentleman just. I get up at 3:40 this morning. See? 90% of the time I put it down. But you're very tired right now, and that's causing a error in your judgment, lazy bones. No, sorry, let me explain. Here, I got these.
So mad because he got caught.
For you. I'm put them right here
making up some
BS. There you go. It's got a hotline number on it. So you call that for counseling about how not to be lazy. Oh, what's going on? What are you doing, sir? Why are you approaching me? Why am I approaching you? Yes. This is yours. Take it back. It's got a number for you. It's present for you. Take it back. Teach you how to be a lazy bone. Take it back. No, sir. You keep that. My gift to you. Why are you running after me? Because you're a fucking asshole. I'm a nice guy, sir. No, you're a fucking asshole. Luckily, I have good blocking skills. I blocked you like that.
So crazy.
You're an asshole. I'm a narc. Let me explain. I don't give a shit what you want. Yeah, you do, because you're.
The guy actually gets caught lying to the store management.
Is I have rights. Leave me alone. Yeah, I know. And what I'm saying. Leave me alone.
Oh my gosh! I'm gonna get hit by a car.
Leave me alone. I'm trying to have a polite conversation. No, I don't want a polite. Leave. Sir.
See all that moving him around he just did. He could have returned his card back, man.
Call the cops on him. No, I'm a nice guy. I'm having a polite conversation about how to be civil to your fellow customers. Oh, still fuck yourself. The reason they had the cart corral, which we were at, by the way, we were right here at the cart corral. You could have brought it back by now. Is because carts. You could have put it there. Well, sir, then you would have alerted. You are this close to being on the ground. Why? I'm not.
Guys, violence doesn't solve anything. Not one bit. It's just not needed. I'm not going to play you guys full 15 minutes. I would highly encourage you to check out the YouTube channel Cart Narcs and see what I'm talking about. But I'm ready for this interview. We're going to bring Agent Sebastian on and give him a formal introduction and roll with this, have a good time, and get some questions answered. have some good laughs, and we're gonna learn all about Cart Narcs. All right, guys. So we're back with another interview, this time with one of our favorite YouTube channels, the Cart Narcs. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Agent Sebastian, have him introduce himself and a little bit about what the organization does if you guys are not familiar. But without further ado, I have Agent Sebastian with the Cart Narcs.
Thanks for having me. And we at the Cart Narcs, it's pretty simple. We go about the task of asking people who neglect or forget to put their cart back in the cart return where they know it belongs. We go about asking them and hopefully persuading them very gently to do the right thing.
For sure, for sure. Now, I got to ask, what made you start this organization? Did it just hit you one day, hey, I want to go on about this?
Yeah, it's I really, when they make the movie, we'll have some kind of origin story about, like one of the superheroes where it's, like a cart rockets through my home and, kills everybody and I'm the only survivor or whatever. But yeah, no, it was just that. And it was a conversation with a coworker about these sorts of things. And that's been my kind of, my MO in how I kind of do stuff is it's one thing to observe something, to talk to other folks about it and to, at least in your life, make it better. But my kind of, hobby is going out and trying to, explore and interact with these things. And at first it was just asking people why they weren't doing it. And the responses were ridiculous. It was very defensive, very aggressive before the whole sort of Cart Narcs persona as it is known today started. But then I kind of started slowly building on that and kind of making it more, official and having, accessories and, branding and logos and stuff like that. And it's kind of just slowly been building over time.
Okay. So what makes you decide like what locations you go to? Because I know me personally, I'm here in Washington, excuse me. And I've seen you go to Marysville, which is like a smaller area, but it's not well known.
Right.
It's also not the best area to go into.
Yeah, people say that a lot. Is they'll say, "Oh, wow, that's not a good part of town," or something like that, or "I can't believe you were in XYZ." Because there are famous cities that are known around the states, for being a little perhaps unsavory. Your Detroit's and Southside Chicago, and I've been to all those places, of course. But then there's places that only the locals know are like the bad neighborhoods. I did that in Phoenix recently. You're like, oh man, that's a bad Walmart. You shouldn't have gone there. But yeah, no, as far as where to go, number one, they have to have cart returns, and not because like if it's a real small lot, you're not gonna have a cart return and it's just going to be less people going in and out. And there are a handful of places, mostly like dollar store type places, 99-cent store places that don't even have cart returns. And it's just a madhouse. And in that case, I'm like, you know what? That's on you as the store. If you want to do that to yourself, go for it. But as far as when I go to a place is I'll stop in, Seattle or Tacoma or, Vancouver in your area and just start driving around. Typically not the city center because a lot of those grocery stores are like built into the bottom floor of a condo building or something. But like once you get out 5, 10, 15 minutes outside of a town, let's say I'm driving between Seattle and Tacoma, I'll just put on my little GPS, find along the way grocery stores or Costco's or, whatever, or Home Depot, Lowe's, and just stop in. And if it looks like it's a place that has a bunch of loose carts out and they have cart returns where people should be using them, I'll stop in for 15, 20 minutes or so and just kind of clean things up and talk to the folks. Hopefully persuade them to do the right thing.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was watching that Marysville video and I was like, man, like the person that you had the interaction with was so crazy, man. I was just like, I was waiting for something to happen, like a gun to get pulled or something.
That's only guns. Only 2 guns have been displayed to me, and those both have been in Texas, which is not shocking to a lot of people. And then I've been threatened. I was threatened to be shot additionally outside of Dallas, and I was threatened to be shot in Orange County, California, but nothing in Washington State so far.
Okay. Were you just in like Washington at that time, or did you say, hey, let me fly out to Washington? Because I mean, it sounds like you're very knowledgeable of like Tacoma.
Well, I have family in Tacoma. Yeah, my dad's side of the family, they aren't from there, but they all kind of moved there for whatever reason. It's lovely, especially during the summer. I enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. Great parts.
Yeah, so I'm in Portland a lot, at least once or twice a summer. I try to avoid it during, you'll see with our videos, we talk about this, is there's never anything in the snow, never anything in like a torrential downpour, not at night. So, cause I try to eliminate all those excuses. So, it's funny. God, I forget what city it was outside of Seattle last summer, but like and I didn't post the video because it was we had some kind of heat wave. It was like 100 degrees or whatever.
Yeah, 115.
Yeah, and the thing with GoPros is if you leave them on, they'll overheat, especially in the like hot sun. And there's this guy, and it was really funny. He wasn't trying to fight me, but he was like really going at me as far as like trying to pay. He was like trying to mess with me, like, I'll pay you $5 to put that car back. He's screaming at me or whatever, but like in a more of like a playful way. But the camera kept cutting out, and so I was losing the con. But I turn around and like there's 2 security guards and like 2 employees, and they were like, "Hey man, that's pretty funny. We got to ask you to go, but and they were like, can we take a picture first?" So yeah, I've had a lot of fun up in that area, and I'm sure I'll be back, soon here once the weather gets it's not super cold up there, this, but I don't want to give anyone's excuse like, oh, it's too cold outside, whatever. So yeah, definitely there a lot. Cause from where I am based in LA, it's a quick plane ride. You'd be up there in a few hours and for almost very little money.
Yeah. So it's funny that you say people with their excuses. I was watching your videos. The one that really stuck out to me the most was the Calabasas video where the lady with the vertigo. I was just like, man, you talking about you walked through a whole store and you got vertigo?
That's funny. It's and for folks who don't know, Calabasas, it's become famous as like the place where rich people live, like the Kardashians and a bunch of other people live there. And so I went out there one day because it's one thing. It's funny when like I talk to my friends about this, they'll say, well, man, you shouldn't go to like, you can't win basically. They say, oh, you shouldn't go to poor neighborhoods because, they're poor. And then, but then if I go to only rich neighborhoods, people will say, oh, you're afraid to go into the, the hood or whatever. So I can't win either way. But that's kind of the thing with the Cart Narcs is it doesn't matter how much money you have, because that's not an excuse. Or how I don't bust super old people or whatever, but if you're a man, woman, if you're decently able-bodied, it's not an excuse. But anyway, this lady in Calabasas, she parks the cart, like she kind of walks and gets it out of her way, and it's right next to the cart return, but blocking that spot. And and she pops out, she's like, well, I have vertigo. And I was like, well, okay, you walked all around the store. Well, and I think she said something like, I use the cart to help stabilize me. And I'm like, well, how are you going to drive home if it's that bad? And she's like, it's fine when I'm sitting. And I was like, well, do you have a cart waiting for you at your house so you can walk into your house with your groceries? And then she says, I forget what she said. I think she just gave up. She's like, well,
That's what she questioned you. Are you the authorities? What are you? And then
right, yeah. Then they go like they'll never talk about what I'm talking about. They'll talk about whatever and again, she may very well have had vertigo at some point in her life. Because you don't just have that excuse in your back pocket, But it's weird. We talk about this with people like. Because you hear like I'm a mom or I'm a dad or I have it happened actually also in LA and Santa Monica where this guy like I broke my foot but like 2 years ago, and so it's kind of there's a mentality amongst certain people that like I've got this thing that something I was affected by once, whatever it is, bladder, kidney stones, whatever. Everyone's got something. But it's not affecting you right now. And I know it because like you said, you walked around the store, you loaded all your groceries in, but the second you wanted to be lazy, that's the excuse. So it's funny, like the more successful type of person in their life generally says, okay, I may have this condition, but I'm not going to let it affect me or, in as far as getting stuff done in life. And that's because as soon as people will say that, like, in this case, vertigo, you'll see the comments like, yes, I have super terrible vertigo and I don't go grocery shopping when I do it, like people who, cause I don't know, it's manageable or not manageable or whatever. But if it is affecting me, I'm not going out to the grocery store and getting behind the wheel of an SUV if I have it. And that goes for everything, it's just, it's a success-minded lifestyle. Like, am I going to let cause we all have them. Am I going to let my limitations affect me or am I going to, work around them or, accommodate them to do what I'm supposed to do.
Definitely. So in that same video, was that Kesha? I'm just curious. Was that Kesha?
So yeah, it was across the street, different lot, but she, and I try to like show those, like I'll show the people who are just indignant and are, you know, angry, but I try to show people who are like, who have a change of heart. And this girl, she was dressed kind of, she was blonde, very similar bone structure. I don't know. And I don't think so. I don't know if she lives in that part of LA, but I mentioned it in the video because like she wore she was wearing kind of like more like sort of streetwear style clothing. And I think if it were her, like her super fans would have found it and been like, oh, because they would have those super fans, especially with pop stars, know like every little thing about their piercings and whatever. So I think it's just a girl who looked a lot like her. Maybe it was kind of emulating her, but I don't think so. I haven't busted any actual celebrities in LA. The only one I've actually even seen, and was a former SNL guy, Bobby Moynihan. He did like Drunk Uncle and stuff on Saturday Night Live. Didn't bust him. I just saw him in a parking lot. He was looking at me like, he didn't know what I was, but he put his cart back, just FYI.
Okay. So you have this thing, you have the mouse siren and then the wand of justice. Has that like always been something since day one, or is it something you just kept incorporating?
Right. Yeah, no, it's one of the, like I was talking about, it's one of those things, like this whole idea wasn't fully formed, even if, it still isn't, I assume. It's like, well, what if, I'm not a police officer, I'm not law enforcement. And I mentioned that in a lot of videos. So people ask me, are you the cops? Are you with the police? Are you law enforcement? No. But I still needed a way to kind of get people's attention. People have, said like, I'm kind of like a crossing guard or a, SpongeBob SquarePants or Ned Flanders character. So I was like, well, I can't use an actual siren because those are reserved for emergency services. But if I did like my own version of it and did it with, and doing it with your weep ski, like that kind of stuff is even more silly. So when these people react sometimes ridiculously and violently, it's even more weird that I'm like this cartoony, making silly noises like Bugs Bunny's style. It just makes them look, and what they're doing, look even more ridiculous by how ridiculous I'm being.
Gotcha. So, I mean, that tune, like the mouse siren that you have, did you mimic that off of something per se? Because it sounds like a song that I've heard before, like back in like an 80s song, but it sounds so familiar. I'll definitely have to find that song when it comes to mind and send it to you.
Okay.
But is that?
It's nothing. It's just just making siren sort of noises. But yeah, if you can find it, I've never had anyone like tag me in that before. But if you find it, that'd be super interesting. Because it wasn't necessarily, at least consciously, inspired by anything.
Okay. So when a lot of people will when they watch your videos, I'm sure they talk about how fast you are on your feet. It's so crazy to me. I'm like, how is this guy so
I'm sure
fast?
I'm not that fast. I didn't run track or anything, but like the one thing also I mentioned is I've got an unfair advantage because I'm wearing usually like shorts or sweatpants. I've got sneakers on. The vest weighs a little, like it's like 6 pounds, but like I'm ready to. I've been walking all day, and most people aren't ready to, challenge somebody to a sprint when they go to the grocery store. So and plus I'm like, that's my first move too, because I imagine, and because it runs both ways. Again, I can never win against someone who wants to have a problem with me. So they'll say, "Oh, you should stand and fight, Cart Narcs. What are you, scared of that woman? What are you running away from this girl, that old lady for, or 35-year-old woman for?" And I always say to them is that like, I'm not going to cause, if I could win a fight or not, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to cause that person to physically injure themselves or me, hopefully. But in the cases where there have been some pretty big dudes. But like, I don't want, the purpose of the Cart Narcs is not about physically fighting anyone. It's about using logic and coercion and just being reasonable with people to kind of, so that they understand, even if they're putting up all these arguments and they're trying to fight me, at least verbally, it's not to hurt anybody. And because I could pick my fights if I wanted to, but people, and I would be quote justified, depending on the district attorney and judge, who knows, but I don't even want to get to that point. I don't even like, that's the whole issue, is like, this is not about violence. This is about politeness and being conscientious.
Exactly. And, You're just trying to bring awareness. I watched that Dr. Phil interview, man. I tell you, so ridiculous. You know, oh, you're trying to antagonize people. I mean, if you were trying to antagonize people, you'd be trying to start fights. And I mean,
right. And there have been imitators, nobody who does it full time, but like I've been tagged with, there was like a bodybuilder and some kind of pro wrestler who just did like a one-off kind of imitating, copying me, way more aggressive, way more in your face. And you, like you mentioned, it kind of gives, then at that point, it gives people a reason to be either hostile or defensive or whatever. I'm trying to be, like I said, like a Boy Scout, just a pick your favorite, like super nice guy cartoon character about it, so that it is more, because once you start giving them excuses, like I was talking about, oh, you were yelling at me, you were aggressive, you were intimidating, that distracts from the message.
Exactly. I mean, those, you know, it teaches people responsibility. You know, there's a lot of people that are protected growing up. I'm 32 years old, so I'm kind of within that Gen Z range. You know, we're kind of close to that. But you know, I mean, people just, even older people, they don't want to put their carts back. And I mean, when I talk older, we're not talking like 70, 80. We're talking people my age. You know, even on up. It's just full of excuses. Let me just drop this here. But
well, it's great. And I get tagged a lot on Instagram of parents who are like, we'll shoot a video of their like 7-year-old taking the cart back, and they're like, hey, we're, you know, raising them right, Cart Narcs. So yeah, it really comes down to how you were raised, and it sucks too, because I talked about this in a few videos where I'll watch parents with not tiny kids, but, you know, 6, 7, 8, whatever, 9-year-old kids who don't have to be like hovered over, who, you know, could be helping out the parent with loading groceries, putting carts back. And I don't bust those people because I don't want the parent to freak out around the kids. But it sucks to watch in action when the mom will just do whatever, you know, and then you're like, well, that's gonna 10 years from now, that kid's gonna be doing the same thing, unfortunately.
Exactly. Got to teach them young. And, you know, unfortunately, those people that do have to collect the carts, yes, they are paid for them. But I mean, just imagine late at night when they're ready to get off of work and they got carts scattered across the parking lot. You know, they get paid. They get paid for it. But I mean, that's what we have the cart returns for, you know.
Right. And you see, and I would talk about that in a lot of videos where it's the principle, not the exact execution. So, I mean, you can pick any service industry, any sector of the economy. You know, we talk about this a lot. At the same store, there are people that are paid to stock the shelves, but it's a dick move to like grab, you know, a loaf of bread and say, oh, I don't want that, and toss it in the fridge, you know, which, or the worst one you see a lot is they'll grab, you know, some ground chicken or ground beef, decide they don't want it later. And you see this, like, and they just leave it at the check stand, like next to the candy or somewhere else in the aisle. Yeah. And they pay people to, you know, and we talk about this with toilets and hotels. You pick any job, restaurants where, yeah, I guess I've heard this before. People will say, well, what do you want me to go bust my table and go back in the back and wash my dishes? No one's ever asked you to do that. And you know, that's not what but at the same time, you don't just like dump your plate on the floor. You know, if you spill a drink, you would notify the waiter or waitress, say, oh, hey, can we get, instead of just like leaving it and doing whatever. Cause yeah, they're paid to do it, you know, or, you know, throw your napkin on the ground. It's just, or at this like fast food restaurants, put your tray at the tray return. You don't have to, but you know, that's the system and you know, that's what the situation is. But they play dumb in a lot of these cases and say stuff like that. Well, they pay people, and you know, that falls apart almost instantly.
And you ask people as well, like, hey, you know, they got janitors there, you know, they're to clean up the bathrooms. Are you going to?
You can pee on the seat if you want to, but you know, you're not supposed to.
Exactly. And it's their answers aren't. They're just they never have something to say, you know?
Yeah. I kind of wish I could, like, we don't have mind reading technology yet, but I would kind of want to look inside their brain and see the circuits that are firing on that stuff. Cause you know that they don't really believe it, but they're kind of tricking themselves in the moment to kind of save their ego or whatever. I would be fascinated to like really, once we get to the MRI technology, I guess, to like that level to like, you know, watch. Cause they do that with like other, you know, like we'll say like, whoa, what part of the brain lights up when they see a picture of a dog or their mom or a pretty boy or, you know, whatever. Like, it'd be fun to like watch that in real time as the, you know, these excuses are being generated.
For sure. And I mean, I'm a bigger guy. But you know, my buddy has always instilled it in my mind. He's like, dude, you're trying to lose weight. Get the extra steps in, man. Just go walk your cart over. Be done with
that's
it, man, you know?
especially on some of the videos with larger folks, people in the comment section. Sometimes they're not as nice and will make less flattering versions of that argument.
And I mean, you know, as a bigger guy, we got ourselves in this predicament. We got to get ourselves out of it, but there's just no excuse. If you have time to walk around the store, you got time to put that cart back.
Yeah, there's a comedian named Kellen, I believe Kellen Erskine, who has a joke about that, about like, but the second you're done loading, he's like, you know, you walk 2 miles through Costco and no, I've just run out of energy at the last moment. And he kind of goes into it there. It's a funny little. I tag it on Instagram. I get tagged on that on Instagram a lot, so I'll share it from time to time.
So when you catch these folks not putting their carts back, you give them an opportunity. You know, you use the mouse siren. They tend to roll down their window, or they'll just wave you off and go on about their day. But you have these magnets. You got the lazy bones on board, and then the other one that has the phone number on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my girlfriend was like, man, can you ask him, has anybody ever called and apologized or said, hey, you know, anything like that?
We have not gotten an apology yet, which was kind of the hope when I first, because again, initially, all the magnets have our little phone number on them, and that was the hope, and that has not happened yet. Usually, most folks don't even call, I think, but once or twice a year, and I when I find these, I do tag them on the end of the videos, and they'll just call and cuss me out, unfortunately, or threaten to sue me or hurt me, or, you know, all the standard stuff that you see in real time will also show up on the voicemail. And I would love, because the same question comes up as far as like, well, because you can obviously DM us or email us, or and you could offer that, hey, I'm so, like, maybe like a year later, I'm sorry, that was me on the video, I would like to come and sit down and have an apology. Haven't even gotten that. So that is the hope one day, is that it'll happen, because in some videos you see it in real time, is they'll get kind of like, and they're like, you're right. So they're like, in real time, you know, in the course of me talking to them, they'll do it, which is rare, but it happens, thankfully. But yeah, not on the phone call or the email or anything as of yet. It's just been more anger and threats.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's going to come very soon. Hopefully this year. We still got several more months.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I think it might be one of those things that takes a few years for people to like grow up and mature. In the cases where they do that, other times they're just going to be turds, I guess, for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, you know, like you said, there's some people that seem like they have a change of heart, but I remember watching one video where there was a lady. She was in a car, and you know, she kind of hit you with the fake out. I know you like to do the fake out with the magnet, but she kind of hit you with the fake out. Yeah, I'm gonna go put the cart back, and then she ended up getting on out of.
Yeah, that was a couple months ago, where it was in a Costco, and she got and that was a bad one too, because she was parked, and then she put her cart next to her car, and the cart return was like 1-2 spots over on the other side, but she was like, whatever, I'm going to block this spot. And her biggest concern was that she had a body cam on, and she's like, well, if you just turn it off, I'll take it back. And I know how that works. Yeah. And so I said, you know, and I've actually, that was the first time that's ever happened. So I didn't have like, what I thought of later is I should make a deal with those people if it ever happens again, is, well, I'm not going to turn it off because I don't know what you're going to do at that point. You could do anything. In this case, she just waited for a few minutes and then drove away. So she lied, because I did turn it off and stepped back away. I think my new deal is, if that ever happens again, will be to say, tell you what, I'm not going to turn it off because people lie. It happens all the time in my videos. What I will do is, if you get out and take your cart back, I will blur out your face and like change your voice, even if you want me to you know, but I cannot, just for, you know, fool me once, shame on you sort of stuff. I cannot turn the camera off, because at that point, anything you say, who knows what's going to happen, that's kind of a thing too, because like people say, I'm going to sue you. You were assaulting me. You hear all that stuff. And leaving the camera on proves that wrong. So it's for my safety, both personally and legally. But yeah, I think to that point, I think I've found an answer to that. I just wish I had thought of it at the moment,
For sure.
how to solve that situation.
Yeah, and I mean, how you mentioned how people they lie, and that kind of reminds me of that video with that gentleman. I think it was in Irvine. I could be wrong. Where the title was "I'm a fat a-hole," and this guy
that
getting out
Culver
the
City.
truck.
Yeah, that's
Culver City. There you go.
LA
And I mean,
County,
he tried to get you to come up to him. He's like, I just want to talk to you face to face, and I got the camera on me. Like, no, man, you're gonna try to assault me,
And he also said but he was, because he like was trying to tell bystanders like the story, and like the manager of the store, and he would recount it in the wrong order to like make it look like, because I don't think he was intentionally lying, but people's instinct is to make themselves look good. So he was reordering the way that things had come. I forget exactly what it was, like saying that I had yelled at him first and he had not chased me and blah, blah. Like he had screwed things up in the timeline to make himself look better. I was like, well, actually, no, I got it right here in real time. And so that, again, it's helpful in that respect. Or like, hey, buddy, can we just talk like you said, let's just talk for a second. Like, because he ended up trying to he threatened to you're about this close to being on the ground. And then he tried to chase me at one point. It was 15 minutes of him just like leaving, coming back, trying to get bystander. You know what this guy did? And that was early on. That was early 2020, pre all the coronavirus stuff. So yeah, she's probably coming up on 3 years ago, and it's still like the most insane, like epic, I don't know, encounter I've ever had. Didn't end in violence or gunfire, so that's good.
Yeah, definitely. And it's cool because I found your channel through I'm not sure if you know who Mr. Technical Difficult is.
I don't think I do.
Okay, he's a Washington YouTuber. He used to do a lot of videos back in the day on like what is it? Those little chat sites. Infrabrand found you through him as well. They kind of co-signed you. He's a Washington guy with he'll go through the stores and wears little spy glasses. A lot of people say, man, Cart Narcs and Infrabrand probably should collab. So and they tagged you in it. So that's also how I found you. But
okay.
Yeah, I know you've been doing this for a while by yourself, but you also had started to recruit some people. You have Agent Corday.
Oh, Cordell. Yeah, we got
Cordell.
like different regions of the country will have different Cart Narc agents that'll pop up from time to time. Cordell in Texas. There's Carterini in the New York City boroughs. Agent Cameron runs around. Agent Bone Garcon. There's Agent Gabriel in the Salt Lake City area. There's a RoboNarc in Detroit, which is obviously a little bit of fun there with RoboCop. And then I'll do like narc-alongs periodically with folks who will either like be a spotter. There's a comedian here in LA who went along with me for a couple spots out in like San Diego and Las Vegas. So spotters are really the greatest thing to have, because there's so many times it'll happen while I'll be like watching somebody and I'll have like just cleaned up the area behind me, and the second I turn around, somebody without me knowing had, so like having somebody on a walkie is awesome to help out.
And do those other agents, do they have their own separate channels, or does everything go on to yours?
Yeah, everything's it's all Cart Narcs under one umbrella. They haven't really done because I know that's popular on YouTube. I'm not a big like technical person, or not technical, but like how people have like, this is my channel for this is my channel for that. I guess because it's more like, it's not my full-time job. So I don't have that like, this is going to be just my Cart Narcs channel. This is just for litter, and this is just for, parking violations, which I get a lot. I get a lot of requests. We've done a few park Narcs sort of like side missions, but it's like bad parking happens, but it's not as common as people think. Like when you see it, you're like, oh God. But if you walk around any one parking lot, there's probably not going to be a terrible parker there. I mean, maybe over the course of a week, there'll be somebody who's across the lines or whatever, but it's a pain in the butt, and it's obnoxious when you see it, but it's not as super common as, you know, the cart stuff.
Okay. So, and you mentioned like park narcs and stuff. That's kind of where I was going to lead to next. Like, do you plan to outfit a little bit more and, you know, try your hand at something else, you know, say, hey, maybe gyms or,
Well,
you
that's,
know.
yeah, the weight narcs is one, and I would love to do that, because it's just ridiculous where someone, you know, you see, especially at your LA Fitness, Planet Fitness, those big national gyms, where somebody will grab some dumbbells and they'll walk, you know, not even that far. They'll just be like, oh, they'll go use, you know, do some flies on the bench, and then they'll just leave them there and they'll walk off and do. Or they'll take them to another part of this gym to do, you know, some kind of plyometric stuff, and then they'll just leave them on the ground. Or they'll take, you know, the weight, the 10s, and put them on the 45, because they, you know, they don't want to like worry about reading, or because they're not having to deal with taking them back off. They're done with them. But I would need a gym's permission, obviously, because it would take, I think it would take like some camera setups, because you have to kind of watch in, you know, real time, and you have to kind of make sure that they have definitely left. Because one thing with carts is, you see it in iVideos, I have to make sure they've definitely left the cart and are not coming back for it. Because I think with like gym weights, it'd be one of those things where, oh, I was just coming back in a minute. But you need to wait like 5 minutes then to be on, you know, some cardio machine. It's like, oh, your dumbbells are still on the floor. You want to, you know, whatever the version of that is. Sure. So I would need like a gym owner to be like, yeah, man, come on over. But the one I really want to do, I'm still working out the technical issues of it, is something with littering. And I've talked about this in some Cart Narcs videos, because there've been a few Cart Narcs videos where I've caught littering in action, and I'll have that conversation. One in Chicago, one in Las Vegas specifically. But it's very rare, because it's such a split-second action by somebody, and they usually don't stick around. Usually it's just like, I'm in my car and I'm done with my sandwich, and boom, and I'm driving off. Like, with a cart, you watch them walk to their car with this big metal thing, so it's very easy to track. You never know with littering; you just see it after the fact. So my thought on that is, I need, you see these in a lot of parking lots in the past few years. Those, like, it's a big trailer thing with like a bunch of cameras on top off a telescoping rod.
Oh, yes.
It's got like a solar panel, and I've looked into kind of how much it costs to rent one, because it'd be funny if you just pull one up and like leave it there, and, you know, because you'd have to be sitting there. It'd be like the movies where they have the FBI guy in the back of the van. He's got his cameras or whatever. I think it would have to be something like more like a van, where I pull up and I'm just got a couple different cameras. I'm watching people who are sitting in their cars, because I was actually in Toronto once, and I didn't bust these guys because they were in the Costco parking lot eating chicken wings and just tossed them out the window, which, yeah, that's not, it's, you know, it's biodegradable. And I would kind of, you know, it's like apple cores or banana peels. I mean, it's gross, but I asked them about it. It's like, oh, and they were French Canadians. Like, we are feeding the pigeons or whatever, the seagulls or whatever. Like, then they're gonna crap on cars, but like they didn't quite, and it wasn't plastic or, you know, whatever. So I didn't bust them. Because I now just recently in the past month or two have got a litter bug magnet that I've got specifically for those folks, and for folks who toss my magnets on the ground. But so that's what I think it's going to take, is some kind of like van with a telescoping pole to like watch and wait, because it's going to be much more of like a fishing thing where you're just sitting, which, you know, is fine. Who cares? You're in the back of a van and waiting for the moment that they drop it out, and then you have to, you know, if you remember the show, the old TV show Cheaters, which is still on reruns in some places, where they pull up in a van and bust out, you know, run it up. But yeah, it's the thing I've noticed with the littering is it is so split second, and you really got to be watching everything. And the grosser part, and I've seen this now in a half a dozen videos where I'm finding pee bottles in a lot of parking lots where and I've walked up on, there was one in New Jersey a couple months ago I walked up on, and it was fresh, you know, foamy, warm on a cold day. I was like, God, we're so gross. And they had trash. It was a Walmart, I think, and they had trash cans by the cart returns, but no, he just wanted to leave that little bomb right there in the parking lot. So yeah, if anyone has any kind of recommendations, basically, I guess I would need like a news van with a big rod, couple powerful cameras on there, or really just one powerful camera where I could just kind of scan, wait till I see somebody in a car, you know, eating or peeing or something. But yeah, that's going to be a technical hurdle more than anything. How to get that one going for littering.
Yeah, no, it sounds amazing, and I definitely can't wait to catch more of your videos for sure and see what else you got going.
Appreciate it.
I know you gotta go serve the parking lots and make sure everybody's getting their their carts back in spot. But before we let you go, can we get a Cart Narcs out and
oh sure, yeah. Thanks again for having me, and Cart Narcs out.
Appreciate it, Agent Sebastian. You have a great rest of your night, and we'll be in touch. All right. Hopefully we see you when you're out here, and not returning our carts. So.
No, I do run into fans from time to time, and they feel so bad. They don't fight me. They're like, man, I knew better. I follow you, and I just don't. That's the thing is they're cool with it. Like people who aren't lying and aren't making excuses don't get as hot about it. People who are just like, yep, sorry, man, that's my bad. Which is all you got to do. Sure. The people say, oh, you antagonize and you make them do this. No, I don't. All you got to do is say, man, my bad. I'm sorry. Exactly. Anyway, but thanks for having me. Thanks for spreading the word. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You have a great night.
You too.
Take care.